The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mindgarden Media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions.
Broadcasting from two very different yet magical places not found on any map. Get ready to discuss the strange, weird, ghostly, crazy, spooky, and odd things that take place around us each and every day, all while having a little bit of fun. This is the Sandy and Toddcast.
We got a little bonus episode for you this week. It's the Sandy and Toddcast. She is Sandy.
He is Todd.
And we are in between season 9 and 10, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct. And you know what's funny is when you started that off, you said it's another bonus episode. And for some reason, that song Bingo came into my head. B-I-N-G-O. So it's B-O-N-U-S. Do you remember that?
Well, here's the thing. Over the past week, Sandy's found out that she has some mental issues, and she just breaks into childhood song now for no reason. They don't have a name for it. They're thinking about calling it the Sandy syndrome because it's something they've never seen before.
Well, it was funny because we were just talking about how we're starting our Flashback Fridays. And I was telling you how ridiculous we are in the original season of the show. And our videos were just stupid. And so we're going to share them with everyone now. This was before we were doing live casts or anything. This was just us so that we could see each other to interact with each other when we recorded the episodes, the audio. And some of it's hilarious. Like, Todd, do you remember the song 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And remember we dragged it out over like 3 episodes. We were so ridiculous back then. But we were funny.
We're still ridiculous. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah. We're sort of, instead of being 12-year-old ridiculous, we're sort of like 16, 17.
I was going to say we're more like 50-year-old ridiculous or 60-year-old because our bodies are falling apart, and that's the ridiculous part of.
And thanks everybody for traveling along that journey with us as we complain about our bodies falling apart and getting old and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So BONUS, bonus.
Bonus is what it's all about. And looking forward to, we got a bonus coming up next week that'll actually be video.
Yeah. Our first bonus episode that's actually video. So.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. This week, we just kind of want to catch up on a couple of things kind of tied into the previous season 9. We started talking about UFOs, and we ended with a great interview with Daryl about his ghost hunting and his new book, which is out.
Yeah, Daryl Marston from A&E's Ghost Hunters, and somebody that we watched for the seasons that he was on that show and really enjoyed watching that episode. So we were thrilled to be able to do an interview with him. And his book, The Horrors of the House of Wills, is indeed out right now. I have mine ordered, so I'm waiting for mine to come. And it's going to be really cool. And so we got to interview him. That was fun.
Yeah. And if you heard it already, that's fine. You can watch it as well next week when that comes out. But we did start the season off talking about UFOs because so much stuff had happened in the last, 6 months of our lives with, what's that in the sky? Is it a balloon? Is it something from China? Is it a UFO? We never really quite know about it. But now this is ironic that we were going to get together and talk. And I just saw this morning. NASA, of course, the space agency here in America, has released a new study that concludes there is no hard evidence of alien visitors to Earth, at least not yet.
My conclusion is they're full of shit.
Yeah. Most sightings so far turned out to be weather balloons, drones, planes, or weird weather patterns. That doesn't mean there isn't anybody out there. In fact, they talked to Bill Nelson, who is the NASA administrator, said at a press conference, quote, "If you ask me, I do believe there's life in a universe that is so vast that it's hard for me to comprehend how big it is," end quote. So basically he's saying he believes in it. We just don't have any hard evidence. And again, after everything that's gone down, there's got to be some evidence at this point.
My other point on that is that not only are they full of shit, but also there are so many deep, dark levels of the government that not even the presidents are aware of or privy to. There is, without a doubt, 100% proof somewhere out there. And maybe NASA doesn't understand it on a certain level, but it is out there. I'm sure of it.
I have to tell you this story. Earlier this week, I did something that I never, ever do. And that is I was invited to go out to dinner with some people that I graduated high school with. And I actually went.
What?
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I went to dinner. And one of the individuals who was there, his name is Kurt. And Kurt and I get along great. We're just very different. He is on one side of the aisle when it comes to politics. I'm on the other. But we both look past that. And he's a little bit more religious than I am. But he, the other two members who went out to eat with me are always asking, tell me a ghost story. Tell me something that happened. And I was actually able to tell the story of how we went to Cana Island and one of the members of this dinner night actually went this summer. And so she wanted to hear the story. So I was able to tell basically what happened when we visited, but he had gone to Nevada, out in the middle of nowhere, right? Stayed at one of those hotels that is purportedly haunted out there. And told me of an experience that he had that now has him believing 100% that something happened.
Wow.
And that while he was probably more of a naysayer in the past, now he understands that everybody's experience is a little bit different. And once you have that experience, then you realize that there's more there than you think.
Yes, without a doubt.
So he and his wife had gone and had a great experience. And it was really cool to hear him tell the story because, again, he was somebody that probably thought, well, this is crap. These people are nuts, whatever. And then, and again, I think he's a pretty level-headed guy, even though we have different thoughts on a lot of things. He's a good person. He's a good human being. And so, like, for him to go, hey, this happened to me and my wife, it was pretty interesting. And it was one of those things where it happened and they both looked at each other because they both heard it at the same time. So then that just gives more credence to, this wasn't just something that he experienced.
It does happen. I've come across a few people in my life who, my husband included.
Oh, yeah. He's a prime example.
He didn't really believe in that stuff, never gave it any thought, didn't really thought it was kind of a bunch of hokey pokey. And guess what? 21 years later, he's ghost hunting alongside of me. He's helping me hone my psychic abilities. He's completely the things he experienced. We have I'm not going to go off on too much of a tangent, but Dave and I are part of an internet ghost hunting show called Empire Spirits, and you can check it out on Facebook. There's a page. Our 5 episodes of season 1 are coming out within the next few weeks, so be looking for that. But he is alongside of me in these investigations for this show. And the final episode that we taped a couple of weeks ago, some crazy, crazy things were happening. Things that he had never experienced himself before. Things I had never experienced. And I don't want to give it away, but it just really solidified with him. I remember we were about an hour or so out away from home, this location. And we were driving home and I was sending you voice messages because I was all adrenaline after what happened, the things that happened. And he's just driving, just shaking his head as I'm talking about it and sending you these messages because he really, he's like, oh my God, so all it takes sometimes, and Dave is not quite that example because he investigates and everything, but sometimes naysayers and skeptics, all it takes sometimes is that one kind of life-changing experience that you just can't explain away no matter what you do or try to do, that kind of turns the tide for you. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that there is a lot more going on in this world than we are aware of. And so I think that's really cool. I think that's a great story from someone who's kind of changed their outlook. Aliens, the paranormal, I mean, they're kind of related in a weird way. Crypto, zoology, that kind of stuff, cryptids. It's all kind of a great thing to watch people kind of shift their mindset after an experience.
Also, we'll mention that next weekend, again, I'm going out in public for the Great Lakes Paranormal Conference 2023, which is being held in Glen Beulah, Wisconsin.
Where is Glen Beulah from you? Which I love that name, by the way.
Well, it's north of Milwaukee. Do you remember where Sheboygan kind of is?
Yes.
Okay, so that's on the lake. It's kind of out in that area.
Oh,
like
okay.
if you were going to get a hotel to stay at the conference, you'd probably get one in Sheboygan.
So it's not that far from you, really.
It's probably about an hour.
Yeah, I was just going to say Milwaukee's just about an hour or so outside, south of Oshkosh.
Yep. So I'll go to Fond du Lac and then go due east, and that'll get me there. But really looking forward to it. A bunch of great people are going to be there. Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters, Dave Schrader from Holzer File. What's his name?
Holzer Files.
Hosier. Let's see. Adam Barry's going to be out there from Kindred Spirits. And a friend of ours, Christina, is going to be there as well.
Yes, she's also a part of our paranormal group, Adirondack Park Paranormal Society. And she lives in Wisconsin. How crazy is that? She's moving out here to New York State within the next year or so, but travels out here quite a bit. And you get to meet her for the first time.
Yeah, so that'll be really cool. But I'm looking forward to it. There's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday show kind of thing or whatever. Not going to make it out to Friday because I have to work. It's high school sports season, so I got to do that. Right. But I'll be out there Saturday and at least a little bit on Sunday, so that should be a lot of fun. And
that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting. So are you going to take you should be taking our business cards with you, both of them, and just handing them out like a slut to every paranormal person at that conference.
So, I mean, does anybody hear what's going on right now? I've got a fun little relaxing weekend planned. And Nurse Ratchet over here is handing out assignments.
Well, you might as well. Why not? You could be normal Todd and talk to them, and then all of a sudden just say, by the way.
Slip them a card.
Yeah, slip them a card.
I can't believe you said, be a slut about it. Jeez.
When we went to Disney for the first time, when I was 36 was the first time I'd ever gone to Disney World. And I was just so excited. I had a character dinner for my birthday. They all came out and brought me a cake and gave me a card, which I still have that's signed. But my first ever trip to Disney at the age of 36, I had a picture taken with every single character that I could possibly find. And I remember calling myself a Disney slut because I was just all over every single character. I needed to get my picture taken with them. So just same idea, Todd. Same idea.
Very nice. So that'll be my paranormal stuff. You've been out doing some stuff a little bit.
Yes. Well, as everyone probably knows, you and I were supposed to get together in Cleveland. We were going to both drive and spend 3 or 4 days together in Cleveland a few weeks ago. And because you're having some issues with your knee, we didn't get to do that this year. So we're planning for you guys to come out to us next summer. That'll be interesting. But anyways, Dave and I decided we were going to head out a little bit west of where we are, a couple hours west. And I took advantage of it. And I had always wanted to go to Rolling Hills Asylum. And now, Rolling Hills is super cool. It's been on a lot of the paranormal shows, pretty much every paranormal show at some point, they've investigated Rolling Hills Asylum. It's in East Bethany, New York. So it's about 2.5 hours west of us. And we don't really head west that often other than, the Finger Lakes. It's past that. So we took advantage of the situation because we were only about 45 minutes away from East Bethany, and we went. Now, it wasn't open that day. They really only open for ghost hunts and historical tours and things like that. It wasn't really open, but that was fine with me. It was okay. Maybe someday we'll get to do one. But we actually drove there and went there and got to take some pictures there. We did a little bit of, you can kind of go on the grounds. They have cameras, so we didn't want to, push our luck too much because there's cameras everywhere all around it. But it's literally like there's a house across the street. There's a park down the street. I mean, it's smack dab in the middle of rural, but yet populated. A populated area, and it was just phenomenal, Todd. It was the original section of it. There's about 3 sections of it. The original section of it is unbelievable. It was erected in 1827 by the Genesee County Board of Supervisors as an almshouse or a poorhouse, and it became a working farm. The problem, though, was that not only was it a poorhouse, it was an orphanage, and then it became sort of at the same time a sort of a mental institution. It was a home for unwed mothers, but at the same time, there were also murderers put there. And
a lot of places
that were unstable.
A lot of places back in the day were like that. It was kind of a hodgepodge of people who weren't considered quote unquote normal or in normal situations. They just all clumped them together and go, here, now, live together.
Yeah. There were children. It was just crazy, literally and figuratively crazy. And so at one point, they actually made a cell in there to house the really mentally dangerous ones to try and keep them as far away from the children, the women, the families as they possibly could. It has quite a dark history to it. There are a couple of spirits that they talk about. There's one that is Nurse Emmy. Nurse Emmy was apparently this really mean, nasty woman who was very cruel and unkind to people. So that was, she's one of the ones that they talk about. The other one is pretty well known. It's Roy. So it's a tragic story of Roy. I'm just going to talk about it really quickly. He was an inmate. He suffered from gigantism, which is the physical deformity that has protruding facial features, large hands and feet. That the Elephant Man, everybody's heard the story of the Elephant Man. He had gigantism. And when he was 12 years old, his father was a prominent banker in the area. His family became sort of, at that point, at 12 years old, they became sort of embarrassed by him, and they sent him over to Rolling Hills. And he grew to a height of over 7 feet tall. He lived there his whole life. He died at the age of 62. He was over 7 feet tall. He liked opera music. He was generally kind. He was generally a calm, kind soul. And they say, and there's been quite a lot of compelling evidence too over the years, they say that his shadow, his very tall, large, wide shadow is seen a lot in Rolling Hills. And I have seen some pictures that are, like I said, really compelling. So those are the 2 main spirits that they talk about, but there's children's spirits in there. There's all kinds. It's always active. Even Daryl Marston was talking about Rolling Hills at the end of our interview. And so it was just a really cool place. I got some pictures. It was funny, Todd, before I wrap this up, as we were getting there were 2 cars that pulled into it doesn't really have a driveway. It has a circular thing in front, but there's a pull off on the side. 2 cars pulled over. And I was like, oh, Dave, now here goes my chance to be able to really check it out by myself and everything. Maybe we'll just wait. Well, I started to walk over there. Out of the car gets two women and a young man with long hair. He looks like your typical like rocker, heavy metal kid, mustache and thin with the leather jacket. And he's carrying a guitar case. So I start talking to the women. One of them is his mother. The other one is a photographer. And he wanted some of his school senior pictures done at Rolling Hills.
That's cool.
It was so cool. So then I find out. So he's over there and I'm talking to his mom and the photographer's taking his picture on the steps of Rolling Hills and everything. Well, come to find out, the guitar is not his. It's his, but the guitar belonged to his father. Now, this kid's probably 17 because he's getting his senior pictures. So he's going into senior year this year.
Right.
His father passed away when he was 4, and that was his father's guitar. And so it kind of chokes me up just even telling the story. And so he wanted to have his father's guitar in the pictures with him for his senior pictures.
That's sweet.
Isn't that great? And he was such a nice kid, and I congratulated him, and I said, those pictures are going to come out amazing, and just nice people. So then they took off. So then Dave and I had plenty of time. So we did a little bit of digital recorder stuff, little EVP. It sounded like I got a few little, maybe a higher female child voice in the background, but it was very low. Of course, we weren't on the property at the time. We were sitting in the car because we didn't want cameras seeing us doing all this shit. But it was just a really phenomenal thing. And I felt like, okay, now I can get this off the bucket list. Because when you see these things on TV, it doesn't do it justice a lot of times. And it was just such a cool place. Smaller than I thought it was. Much smaller. There, like I said, there's 3 sections. The newest one is a lot more elementary school looking. It's on the back of it. And it was built in the 50s, I think. But the original building is just absolutely phenomenal. Some of the windows still have bars on the windows. There's a house right behind it, which I'm assuming maybe it could have been like the caretaker, the head of it at the time, maybe their house. It's an old house that looks like it's probably their offices now. And then a field, which was, I'm assuming, the potter's field where they would bury the dead. And there are no markers there. But there is, beautifully enough, a big marker memorial in a nearby park to all the lost who passed away at Rolling Hills. So just a really cool, very, very cool experience to have. And someday I'll go and I'll ghost hunt there. So maybe I'll get some people together with me and we can go as a group. And, you know, maybe our listeners would be interested. We could all meet up there. So maybe we'll do that someday in the future. That would be kind of neat.
How cool would it be if that young man who was having his pictures taken for high school and had the guitar that was his father's, how cool would it be if the photos somehow have some sort of figure or, you know?
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. I looked through, Dave's an excellent photographer.
Yeah.
I looked through, he took a lot of them. I haven't really had a chance to look through them yet. I took some too. So, but that would be such a cool thought. If there were a face somewhere or there was something going on.
Even orbs or something.
An orb.
Yeah.
Just something really cool. But different energy than I expected. I thought I was going to feel this really dark energy. It wasn't really dark. And I'm sure in the building, it's probably a little bit different. But around the building, I was just kind of picking up on a little bit of like a sadness.
Yeah.
You know, like it was a very low key thing for me. I kind of matched the energy that I was feeling. So it was very low key. I wasn't all jumpy and just kind of a sadness. But I'm sure inside it's a lot because there's so many tragic stories that come from that building. So, you know, but just a bucket list item. It was so cool.
Cool story.
Yeah. I guess that's going to wrap us up.
Sure.
And no spiel for our bonus episode, but we don't need a spiel. We don't need no stinking spiel.
I think I'm going to go take a nap, if that's okay.
I know. We're doing this on Sunday, and I just got back from camp, and we didn't do anything this weekend. It was cool, and we just basically laid around, which was nice, and watched the Mets play. So, anyways, next week we will be releasing, I'm going to tell everybody, we will be releasing the video version of our interview with Daryl Marston in its entirety. No part 1, no part 2, just the whole hour. And it was a lot of fun. So that'll be our bonus content for next week. And then the week after next, we will be back with season 10.
Sounds good. Till we see you again. Bye.
Hey guys, it's me, Sandy.
And this is Dave, better known as #Poor Dave.
We don't always call you that. Anyway, in case you didn't know, Dave and I are part of a great new show called Empire Spirits.
It's where we hunt lots of ghosts in some of the most well-known bars and restaurants in central New York, along with a great cast
of characters.
Yep, Bill Vinci, Michelle Classic, Ryan Vinci, Lafayette Cunningham, and Heather Elias.
You'll be able to see each episode starting this fall on Facebook and YouTube.
Just like our Facebook page, Empire Spirits CNY, to keep up to date on the latest.
But we can't leave you without thanking our sponsors because, well, without them, it just wouldn't be happening.
So a big thanks to the Stife on Varick Street in Utica, Bill Vinci and the Empire Plate, Utica Coffee Roasting Company, and the Sandy and Toddcast.
We'd also like to thank Northeastern Roofing and Construction, northeasternroofs.com, Labella Flowers, that's labellaflowers.com, and Independent Artistry by Dawn Marie, Independent Artistry by DMF.com.
And we can't forget licensed real estate person Paul F. Sacco, 315-525-1377, with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, or Joshua A. Amodio with Priceless Inspections, Central New York's top choice home inspector since 2012, 315-525-8725.
Now, back to the show.